G'day legends, I hope you're all fantastic. On today's video I want to check out the public beta release for Axe-Fx Firmware 21.02. There's a whole bunch of updates and improvements and additions to the compressor block, the gate block, there's a new amp model, there's a new drive model in there, there's some new input boost options in the amp block. Axe-Edit isn't updated at the time that I've made this particular video, so I'm going to do nearly everything from the front panel, somewhere around there near my big dumb head. First, let's dive into some of the new things with a clean preset. Then we'll move over to all the filth. Pretty straightforward preset for the first part of the video. I'm just running an input, then a compressor and drive, which are bypassed at the moment. I've got an amp, a cab, and a reverb, and then just out of sight, an output block. First new thing, number one, is in the input block regarding the gate. We'll hit edit, and you now are presented with an easy or an advanced gate in here. The advanced gate is the gate as it was before, but the easy version of it over here, you can see, doesn't have controls for ratio and attack on there. You've just got threshold and release. If you're inexperienced using noise gates, I would recommend starting out here. You can still set the input impedance over here if you like, as well as the type of gate. If you prefer the behavior of the old gate, just go to the advanced tab here. I think it actually defaults to this one. So basically, you may not notice it if you're just used to that, but if you've never really tweaked the input gate before, I would highly recommend playing around with the easy settings on here. Just basically start with the threshold, and if it's not to your liking, go on and tweak the release. The next new thing is a pretty big one. The compressors had a bunch of updates. Over here, you can hear my cat in the background, definitely approves of these. So there's a bunch of new compressor types as well as some sustainer types in here as well. We'll hear a bunch of these in a second, but the stock studio feed forward compressor is sounding awesome, super fat and smooth. And then you've got a bunch of new types like the analog sustainer, the JPIIC sustainer, and some pretty other sweet stuff in there in the drive block. I am using the new OD1 overdrive. This one's nice and straightforward. You've just got controls for overdrive and level. We'll hear that in a little bit. Let's go to the amp block because I'm using the new 59 bass guy reissued jumped. Just turned the bass down a little bit, mids up a little bit, and brought the two gain controls down. Otherwise, I'm using my go-to clean cab IR, this EV IR that I shared as part of my Gift of Tone preset pack. And then the reverb is the Rich Hall reverb at the stock settings. So let's make some noise. Let's hear a few of those compressors now. We'll start with the studio feedforward compressor at stock settings. I'll let you just hear the new Bassman model with that IR and a bit of reverb. This is a Fender Buddy Guy Strat on the neck pickup, and then I'll kick the compressor in. I like that a lot with the ratio up closer to 4. I've got like auto attack and release on here. Maybe the threshold a little bit lower. It's going to get nice and squishy, but it's very smooth sounding. And again, it's just kind of fat and makes everything enjoyable and easier to play, which is what we want from a good comp. That is so tasty. I really like that. I think my favorite new type in here is the new JPIIC sustainer, because just kind of turning this on makes everything sound more better, if you like that kind of thing. So let's have a listen to this. It's actually a pretty cool fill-in for, I guess, like a drive. This is at stock settings. Again, just on the neck pickup, we'll hear it clean, and then with the JPIIC sustainer kicked in. now with the sustain cranked up a little bit. I also like the optical compressor, very different flavor to what was going on with the studio feed-forward compressor. I'll also let you hear the difference between the optical compressor and the optical sustainer type. I'll do a more in-depth video with the comps once the updated version of Axe Edit comes out. Let's move on to the new OD1 in here. If you're not familiar with it, it was basically Boss's first overdrive pedal. And one of my favorite pedals of all time is the Boss Super Overdrive, which has controls for overdrive, tone, and level. This is even simpler, just overdrive and level. I'm just going to kick it in at stock settings and tweak it a little bit. Let's hear it. I want to hear the OD1 in front of the Brit 800 with the greenback cab and a Les Paul, a tiny amount of plate reverb in there. Let's just have a listen to it. That's pretty interesting. I want to hear the difference between that and the SD1. So I'll bring up an SD1 over on channel B. It's going to be super OD. And we'll do this. We'll set the level at 10 and we'll bring the drive up to 7 on both of them. The SD1 obviously has a tone control, and I think the back end of it is a little bit different as well. So we'll hear OD1 and then we'll hear SD1. I'll just toggle between them using the channel selector. They definitely sound different. I wonder if I could find the sweet spot on the tone control on the SD one to really match it. But the OD one is, dare I say, a little more tube screamery, a little more like open and aggressive. The SD one is thicker. Sounds like it's got a bit more drive on there at the same setting, but another great option to have. Let's swap over now to some high gain stuff, and I want to try those new gates and the new JPIIC Plus shred switch. This is my main live preset. I'm using the Boogie Mark IV model in the amp block, and I've got a separate clean path on there. You've probably seen videos talking about this. If you haven't, I'll link them in the video description, or you can just search through my channel for my kind of live rig rundown on the FM3, FM9, and XFX3, but the gate has a bunch of new options in here. So we'll hit edit over there. You can see you've got the choice for the classic expander and the classic gate. They are the previously existing expander and gate options. You've now got modern gate and modern expander. If we go to say modern expander, you can see you've got controls for the attack time and the release time, but no hold time. This new type of expander doesn't need a hold time control in there, or it just doesn't have one. Everything else looks pretty normal, and you've got a knee control over here, so you can select between soft, medium, medium hard, and hard knee types in there. You can also set the detector type, and I think most importantly for high gain stuff is side chaining the gate to input 1. So the gate is after the amp, but it's side chained to the main guitar input in there. Let's have a listen to some of this. I should mention as well, in the amp block, the boost type that you're gonna hear is the new JPIIC Plus shred boost. Obviously works really nicely with the JPIIC Plus models in here, but I really like it on the Mark IV. It's pretty fun on a Recto or something like that as well. Now, I've already got loads of gain on this, but kicking in the shred switch, it's pretty fun. Let's start with that. You'll hear it without and with. I even had to bump the bass up on the Mark series above 0, which I never do with that. It is super tight sounding. It's got a very different character to the existing shred boost in there, and my favorite boost, which is the CC boost in the amp block. I really, really like that though for rhythm stuff in there. So very, very fun one to try. We might hear it with a Recto, like I mentioned earlier, right at the end, but let's move on to the gates now. Like I said, you've got the new modern gate and modern expander in here. What I want to do is actually change between the different types. If I can do that, let's just experiment. Yes, I can. So we've got classic gate, modern expander, modern gate, and classic expander. Again, the gate is side chained to input 1, and it's after the amp. I've talked about that in a separate video, but let's hear the the classic expander and then the modern expander. I'm going to turn the reverb off so we can just kind of hear how tight this really is. You can hear right at the end there's the tiniest amount of noise in there. Let's see if using the new algorithm can tidy that up. What do I want to do? I want to go to the modern expander type. You could hear with the classic expander, at the settings I had it before, there was a tiniest amount of noise right at the end of the note. Now, I'm pretty used to playing something like that and ripping my volume control on my guitar down to get rid of that, but you could hear there that going through some of the modern expander types on there, there's not that same kind of little weird noise at the end there. And if you crank the ratio up and you use one of like the soft or the soft medium knees in there, it actually sounds really, really natural in there. So combined with ripping the volume control down, you get this kind of thing. It's really, really tight, super, super clean. I think for most applications, if you really know what you're looking for with a gate, the options in there now are going to be pretty satisfying. So let's do this. Let's change over to a Recto because I want to put that JPIIC Plus shred switch on there and just kind of go hog wild with some absolute filth. That works very, very well for that kind of breakdown part in Rust there. The noise is gone. I think it's going to keep people pretty happy. That is it for this particular video. When the full release is out, I'll do an in-depth video, and when Axe Edit is updated, that will make the visualizations a whole lot easier in here. I have to set up one less camera, and because I'm so incredibly lazy, that makes my life a whole lot easier. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you have updated and what you're digging in the new firmware. Again, you got to go to the forum to get this beta release firmware. If you like what I'm doing on the channel, you can check the video description for a variety of different ways to support what I do. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.